I've been using my laser machine or my laser engraver to cut out shapes to make needle minders for cross stitch or embroidery. And on this one I cut 2 layers of wood to make this little butterfly and the bee. And I glued a magnet onto the back. The little label is just to keep me from facing my magnets in the wrong direction. And so I did a little 3D printed base to have the magnet on the back. You can also use just a washer on the back. You don't have to have double magnets because a washer sticks onto these strong magnets pretty well. The magnets that I'm using, I've bought several different sizes from Amazon, and they're these Neo, I don't know how you pronounce that. Sometimes you can just look up rare earth magnet and you'll find these in all kinds of different sizes. So the ones that I'm going to show today, I'm using the 1-inch size. On these I think I used a 1/2 inch, but just whatever your project is. Now this one is a 3D printed needle minder that I designed the base of it they're going to stick to each other. But I designed the base of it at an angle so that you can easily grab it and pick it up. And you can also use it to park your thread because it's got a little overlap there. And I decoupaged the 3D printed piece with just some paper napkins and put some UV resin over the top of it. And it came out really well, but it's very time consuming to make these. And there's the bottom magnet for that. These were a lot faster to make than the 3D printed one. Now this one was done with the button press, and this is the We Are Memory Keepers button press, and I saw a video of someone making these buttons and I got the idea to make needle minders using that, and they came out really nice. I don't really like them this big, but you can buy these buttons in different sizes. These are about 1 inch, but you can't really get much wording on there if you wanted to print up something with words on it, like I did this one. You can do make a gift. So I'm going to show in a minute how I made this one here, and this one was made with scrapbook paper, and I just centered the die right on top of the paper, right where I wanted to cut it. This is the little die that comes with the machine, but with this one I didn't cut anything thicker than just a thin scrapbook paper, but it does not cut all the way through, and you have to keep turning the blade so that you can get it to cut all the way around. And I ended up having to finish it off with scissors. Well, that was not easy to get it lined up correctly, so I got the idea to cut it out with a Cricut or with my laser cutter. So since I'm playing with the laser cutter, I decided to go that route today. So you can use the print then cut feature on your Cricut or any of these machines, and then you can print your wording out, you can print your paper and then cut it out on the machine to the size of this button, and I'll show that on the computer. So on these I did not glue the magnets down. I may never do that because they are so strong, and but if I were giving it away as a gift, I would definitely glue it down. This one I just printed up a picture of a cross-stitch pattern. It happens to be my daughter-in-law's design, and so I printed that up on paper and then put it in the button press. I've tried cloth in there and it doesn't do well. So it's great for paper, but that's about it. That's also some scrapbook paper. So the ideas are endless, and you can also get a heart-shaped die, and you can also get a square die for this machine. I just want to point out again that the reason I'm going through all these steps is because I want to add text. So it's easier for me just to print out my own paper with my own text on it, my own background images, and get everything custom just the way I want it. And using the Cricut print then cut or the Brother machine or the Silhouette all do that very well. But today I'm playing with the laser cutter, so I'm going to show the process that I've done with that. So any drawing program can do this basic stuff that I'm going to show. I first, a while back, I had purchased, when I was trying out scrapbooking for a while, I had purchased some digital scrapbook paper, and the one I'm showing today I purchased from Envato or Envato Elements. A lot of the companies like Silhouette, they all sell digital images that you can print out. So I'm just going to drag that image into Corel Draw. And it's pattern paper. It comes in really large. So I'm going to scale that down with this lock button on right here. I'm going to scale it down to, let's just start off with about 8 inches square. And then I'm going to press P to put it in the middle of my paper. So I can tell already that these leaves are going to be a little bit bigger than I want them to be, but I need to draw some reference circles that are going to be about what we're going to be doing with the button press. So I'm going to choose the ellipse tool, going to hold the control button down and drag, and I'm going to resize that circle to the same size as the die cutter that the circle actually cuts out at 1.938, which is 1 15/16 or something. I measured it out and it worked out pretty well. Alright, so that's going to be my first reference circle, and then I need another one. I held the control key down, drug that out. I'm going to change that one to 1.45. So that's the actual finished size of the button. So this one's going to be my reference to let me know how much I can actually fit into that size button. And this is the medium button for the We Are Memory Keepers button press. So this is the medium circle. So I'm going to go ahead and type some text. I choose the text tool. I'm going to change this to a text that I like. And I just want to click. Let me hit the escape button, and then I'm just gonna do, let's just do, because I want to make some GIFs for our group, and I'm gonna try to fit this in this circle to where I get an idea what it's going to look like on the button itself. So let me click away from that, maybe make it a tad smaller, select both of them, C and E to center that. That looks pretty good. So I know I've got the text the size that I wanted, so I don't need this circle anymore. That was just to help me get a visual. So I'm going to center that on this cutout, because this is the actual paper that's going to cut out. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and group it together, and I'm going to drag it over to my paper. So if I like the way the leaves look in there, I can either tweak it or not. So let's make it a little bit smaller and see if I like the scale. And let's see how many of these buttons we can actually fit on here. So over in my transform menu, I have it in my Docker over here. You can choose it from one of these over here, but I always have it in the Docker. Alright, so I'm gonna, on the X, I'm gonna say 1.938, and that's gonna make a couple of one copy at a time to the right. So I've got it set on one copy, and I'm just going to hit apply until I can't fit any more on there, and I can tell that's all I'm going to be able to fit. So I'm going to highlight, group all of those together, or just select them and put 0 on the X, and I'm going to put a negative 1.938 down, negative, so it'll go down. So it's going to make a copy down and then down. So I'm going to go ahead and rescale this again, because I like as much of that pattern to show in there as possible. And let me select all of, let's see, what I want to do here is select all of these and go to ungroup all. And I want want to group the words together, so I'm just going to hold the Shift key down. Another thing I can do is do this from the object menu, and sometimes that's easier, so I can just see them easier here. Hold the Shift, actually the Control key down, and select all the wording. And let's see if I have all of them. One more, and then I'm going to press, so I don't have all of them. They're not all showing in that window. So okay, that's 9 of them. I'm going to press Control G. I don't want to change their position at all. And I want to do the same thing for the circles. So I'm going to select all of the 9 circles. And then I have that extra one there I don't need. Control G. And so those are all grouped together. I want to, while those are selected, go to File, Export, and I'm going to export that as an SVG, selected only, and you can see I've already done that. So let's just do it again. So I'm going to just say Export. File already exists. I'm going to say yes. Excuse me. Alright, so I don't want to print those circles, so I'm just going to move them off of the page. I am going to make sure those are all grouped together and center them on this little printout. Press C and E, and I'm going to just center these on the page, pressing P. And now I can send this to my printer and print it out. And once I get it printed out, I'm going to head on over to the Glowforge. Alright, I've placed my paper as straight as I could on the tray, and I've used these little honeycomb shapes to try to line things up. And I think I need to tweak it a little bit more. I've got magnets on there, so I'll line it up there. These magnets are probably not necessary, but I put a tiny magnet in between each one of these words so that when they cut out, the paper won't move around in there, because it's very lightweight paper, and the fan sometimes can blow these around. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the lid and let the machine focus on my paper that I have in there, and I'll head on over to the computer. Alright, there's my camera shot of that. I want to make sure I have the right material chosen, and then I'm going to, I like to do this, sometimes it will focus it a little bit better, so I'm just going to focus down here in the middle of the paper and let the machine do its thing. And meanwhile, I think I can do this while that's messing around there. I'm going to add some artwork, and I'm going to upload that SVG that we made and open that out. Alright, there it is. And you see it did refocus and things kind of moved around a little bit, so you want to make sure that everything is good. So one thing I noticed that I may be off of the paper a little bit. Let's make sure my circle is the right size, my SVG. Turn that off so I can see. There's my circle right there that I just made. It's hard to see with all this stuff going on. I'm going to change that to 1.938, and I think my circles are correct. So I'm going to delete that one, but they do look like they're going to go off the paper a little bit. So let's focus that again and see what happens. Focus to a different area, because these should not be that small because alright, I think it did something else. Those magnets may be interfering a little bit. That's why this is not as accurate as using a digital cutter like a Cricut. But I did want to try to use this instead of the sticky mats. So let's see how well it cuts out everything and how well it lines up. And I'm going to go ahead and send that to the laser machine. Alright, let's see how well it lines up with my drawing. Maybe a little bit lower than what I wanted them to cut out at. I'm not sure if the magnets keep it from focusing correctly or not, because they are a little bit taller. Take this center one out, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to head on over to the button press and we'll get this one made. Alright, I'm not going to be needing the die cutter because we're using our laser machine or our Cricut to cut those circles out. I've got my little mylar sheet. I don't need these cutting surfaces because again I'm not using the little die cutter. So I'm going to need this one on the base. I'm going to put the button face up like that. Put our little printout in there, and you see at the 1.938 it fits perfectly. I don't really have to line that up to those lines because I'm going to be removing the pin off of the back there, so it doesn't really matter where that's lined up. Put my little plastic sheet in there. And get the other end of my button press, wherever it might be hiding. Oh, it's up on the machine. It's already on there. Alright, so I'm not going to worry about where they're lined up at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and put this under there. And if you already know how to use one of these machines, I'm not really going into all that, but I'm just going to make sure it's set up for the first step, which is on A. Right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and press that into place. You hear the little crunch, it goes all the way down. Now it's empty. I'm going to take the pin back off of here. Put this up that way with the little cut edge upwards. Move that in. Rearrange these to B and press down. And there is our button. So now all I have to do is get a magnet and glue that in there or not, and you've got yourself a needle minder with custom lettering.